just like honey, sweet to taste on burning lips. Wanna lie beneath the water, feeling icy fingertips. Soothing nectar to my body, wash the image from my eyes. Dirty streets of hungry people, drink the water, dry your eyes. First not look at the reflections, listen to the music made. Drinking water's ease the mind, thoughts of you begin to fade.
Get yourself together before it's too late.
Good evening, everybody. It's Divided We Stand. And I'm hoping that the sound is working just fine because I'm not using that old program. This is 2 weeks in a row, so I'm going to assume that you can hear me. If you would you please just tell me that the audio is fine, if it's fine. If it's not, then I'll crank it up or bring it down or you don't hear me at all. Great. Thank you, Karen. I do appreciate that. And it's great to see everybody. It's just very, very relaxing being here on a Saturday night talking with you folks. For most people, I guess it's kind of intimidating to speak to people live, but for me, it's kind of the opposite. I feel like I'm in a living room talking with people. I really do. Even though it's text, that's fine. It is fine. A little bit of news since last seeing you. I did check in with Dave's wife, and as far as what I can tell you is that he has had a lot of improvement in certain ways, and in others, not so great. Hi, Kinky. So, here we are in February, and I think the end of May, it will approach 1 year with Dave not being here. So that's got me down a little bit. But we continue. I also want to mention that you should check out Veg's video. For some reason, Veg, I think you might have seen my comment, hopefully. I watched Veg's video today, and as usual, just really entertaining. It's funny. I like his humor. And as I said in some of the commentary through his video, and you should check it out. It's a good video. It really is. He talked about Hambone and a few other things, but it was a really relaxed video. And maybe I just read it wrong, Veg. But you get to like the last half minute of his video, he goes from really chilled, and he didn't get upset. He just said, "And listen, you know, if anybody writes some nasty stuff in the comment section, I'm going to write nastier stuff back." And it was just funny how it came out. It's like it came out of nowhere to me. Wow, this is great. Yeah. So it's been a very entertaining day. I've had a friend text me some funny things, and in that sense, it's been a kind of a good day. So yeah, it will approach, Joe. Joey, it will be 1 year in May. Isn't that hard to believe? It really, really is. And I miss Dave. You miss Dave. We all miss Dave. And I can't wait till he gets back. But until Dave's ready, he won't be. And I know one thing, the old Dave would want us to go on. And if I had switched positions with him, I would say the same thing. Got to continue. You're welcome, Bez. You deserve it. It's really good stuff. Really good stuff, you know. Just very honest and relaxed. That's a good thing in these days. Though I wasn't that relaxed the last couple of days. And it's funny how during the day, if you read something or you see something that seems kind of peculiar, it affects you, but then it sends you in a different direction. And I had planned on having kind of a political show today, but it's not really going to be that way. So let me explain. I don't know if you heard, a couple of days ago, there was this large fragment of a flare, of a solar flare. You'll have to forgive me for not knowing all of the information, but essentially a piece of the sun, a small piece in terms of the relative size to the sun, the star, ejected. And I started looking things up, like what would happen if the sun split in half, although that would be entirely against the laws of physics. But if it did, you know, we'd freeze to death and things like that. And then I thought, well, you know, wouldn't it be cool if some of the sun just ejected I don't know if this is the exact case. It probably isn't, but if it did eject, that if, you could get a certain percentage of the sun away, that it might, help us with climate change and global warming. So of course I went on the internet and I saw some commentary just like mine, just what I was thinking. So we're all kind of the same, if we're lay people and we're interested in the subject. So, well, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea if some of the sun just was obliterated, just a piece of it though, you don't want to go too far. Because it's one thing to have a colder climate, some nice snow, and being just an ice block, which would be kind of ironic that we're going through a thermal cataclysm, essentially, and that at the last moment we could have the opposite happen. Now that's not in the plans here. So in this search to see if, any of my thoughts were kind of ringing on the internet, and I did find it, but here's the interesting thing, which kind of relates to last week. I mentioned Christopher Hitchens. Let me show you. Why not? We're not going to look at the video. I could show you it if you'd like to see it. Or maybe I should show it. It's only about a minute. So I'll first show you the video, but it's not the reason why I'm showing this. I wanted to show you the text going on below the video, which was interesting. I want to make sure that you can hear this too. All right. I'm gonna leave the music on. This is not too loud anyway. Let's check this out. Solar prominence. Okay, now hopefully you can hear me, and I think you can. You'll just text me if there is something that you can't hear. Let me see if I can edit this a little bit. Excuse me here. That's better. Now what I'm going to do is show you some of the commentary on YouTube on this. And what's interesting, how do I get the sound effects here? Is that, of course, I found somebody who was thinking the same thing. But in my search, I found some things that have been kind of a theme throughout my life, and it's not good. Now this was just an event, a solar event, and of course the crazies start coming out with this and saying all kinds of strange things, and it's replete with it. Okay, and I'm not going to go into all of these, but just to give you an example. I don't know what you can't see here. So it starts off with this guy. Jesus loves his people. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves of roaring, men's hearts falling them for fear, and looking after those things which are coming to earth, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken, and there's a Luke. Then you go down a little bit, and there are more of them. And they're quoting biblical passages. Revelations 12:34. And of course, there are people like ourselves who kind of are just looking at the event as something interesting, a solar event. But you get so much of this signs from the heavens, Jesus Christ is Lord thing, that it starts to make you think. And it all kind of relates to the political issues we have today with the people who, put their trust into Trump, who's kind of a vicarious Jesus. But it dawned on me that this is cult behavior. And I'm going to get into cult behavior tonight and signs of it. But first, I do want to show you one more thing, and that is these ads, which have been coming up the last couple of weeks, and there's going to be one on the Super Bowl. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars for it for a minute and a half. It's called the He Gets Us video. And when you first look at it, you think it's a normal ad, you know what I mean? It might be even something from Softwhite Underbelly, trying to connect with people kind of like us, people who maybe are skeptical and they have some issues with the world, which, again, I'll go over later in terms of cults. But let's check this out, because this was on CNN. This is another interesting video. So here we go. I'll let it speak for itself, and I'll let you check it out.
People challenged him.
The message is stark, arresting, and backed by $100 million. That's how much organizers say is behind this campaign to market Jesus as a patient, loving, inclusive cure for our divisive times, with the tagline, He Gets Us. Jason Vanderground.
We're trying to unify the American people around the confounding love and forgiveness of Jesus.
The campaign website is filled with phrases saying Jesus called out the toxic religious and political systems, led the protest against the walls that divide us, and broke the chains that held women in bondage. Merchandise declares Jesus was a refugee and an immigrant. At first blush, it can all read like a stand against radical right-wing politics and related divisiveness. But the campaign pointedly says this is not an attack on anyone. It is an outreach to young Americans whom polls show are abandoning Christianity and other faiths at a historic pace.
A lot of times when people look at Christianity, they see it as much more unfortunate, hypocritical, judgmental, kind of discriminatory.
Add the fact that He Gets Us is funded by anonymous donors acting through a Kansas nonprofit linked to staunchly conservative causes, and it raises alarms for some skeptics, such as Chrissy Stroop, a former evangelical who now reports on religion.
I believe the He Gets Us campaign is a PR effort and website strategically developed by right-wing evangelicals to rope people in with inclusive-sounding messaging and get them plugged into local churches that will eventually teach them that to be a Christian means to support right-wing politics.
On top of that, this whole big money marketing of Jesus just makes some Christians uneasy. So take it how you will. The He Gets Us campaign is still moving forward. They plan to release 2 new commercials during the Super Bowl, where Ad Age reports some 30-second spots are now going for $7 million a pop.
What's it like to hear from the
Right. So you start getting a feel for what's going on there. There's this manipulation. But when we're talking about manipulation, you really have to look at the receiver of this manipulation. And I have a few things that I will show from, I guess, from Psychology Today and a few other sites. But as a lay person, okay, let's just not go there yet. But as a lay person, I'll just give you my brief experience with people like this. This peculiar behavior of being part of some cultish type group or some religious group that has cult-like flavor to it. Okay, because not all religious people are like this. No, but some are. And I think for me, just again, this is just this person sitting in this seat. If there's one thing above all that these people share, these people who get involved with cults, and that is they're consumed with knowing the answers to unanswerable questions. And it relates to last week where I mentioned White Noise, that movie where, you know, we as Americans get distracted and willingly are distracted because of our mortality, our fear of death. I mean, it is frightening. I mean, you and I, we're going to have this button that shuts off. We know it's coming. We know it's coming, and it is frightening. And we go out not really knowing the truth. So these questions are important, but perhaps there, in my opinion, there is some connection with this existential fear and being part of a cult. You need this answer, and if you can't find it in any normal way, it's unacceptable to you. You have to have an answer. Then you find others who will give it to you, and those around you, this community of people with the same things, and then you will have people who will offer you these answers, whether they're right or not, and usually they're not. So, again, from my perspective, if there's one unbending thread of evidence of following cults, it would be this I don't want to say a passion for getting these questions answered, but it's more of a fear, an existential dread, where you're searching for something that will be acceptable for you, so that you can deal with it. Now, again, White Noise was more about this whole thing with advertising and whatnot. And I'll get to your commentary, folks. I haven't looked yet. I'm just barely like on the sideline. But you see what happens with the Super Bowl. I mean, if there's any one time that you're going to be able to project to a large number of people who may have that question that I meant, that or that dread, and then plus they're sucking people like, I don't want to say people like you and me, because I don't want to speak for you, but the people who are searching. I mean, I'm searching for answers constantly, but I don't need to know before I go. I'd like to, but I know that, you know, I generally know what's going on. But to market Jesus in this way, this is not really anything new, but it's intensive now. Okay, and again, what better way than the Super Bowl? Because it is the most popular TV day of the year. Right? So I want to look more closely at the cults tonight, because I think we've all probably been around people who have been part of cults, and there's much more than just obviously what I'm saying. Talk about the desperation and whatnot, and I'm not saying, by the way, that all Christians are cult members, but for many in any religion, they need these answers. They need to know, whether you're a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian, they need to know that they're going to go on, because they are that important to the universe. first. It's too much to think like, wow, I'm working real hard to become a better person, and all of a sudden there's going to be a shut-off valve at the end. All for naught. It's unacceptable to some people, and I get that. It's tragic, like all of our lives in a certain sense. Tragic. But the greater tragedy is the people who will manipulate, the people behind the scenes, like they just said for the Super Bowl commercial, the people behind the scenes that are using this to hurt people who are desperate in these, trying to get these questions answered. So I have a few different sites here. Psychology Today. We actually have 3 different sites, but let's go through some of these together, shall we? All right. Why don't we start from the beginning here? And I'm not going to read all of these, but let's just look at the titles here. I think it's kind of good enough here. 10 psychological reasons why people join cults. Seductive recruitment process. Okay, so in order to grab you, they have to seduce you into something. Okay, so they're going to offer something to you, at least seemingly when you begin. So some people, it's kind of like what's in the box, the curious cat. They're going to offer you something, and in that time that you're getting acquainted with these, for want of better, gurus or masters of whatever, the longer they have you, the greater chance they're going to be able to keep you. And we'll get into that too. Post-breakup blues. Again, people who are down and out, searching for something, they feel like they're unwanted, breaking up. It's tough, right? Of course it is. But how you deal with it, that's another story. Striving for perfection. Okay? So if you look here very closely, it says striving for perfection comes into play in many cults. The vast majority of cults teach their followers that they are superior to their non-cult members. There's something better about them to make you feel like you're better. And of course, the leaders of the cults, they're the ones that, are going to call the shots, and you have to follow them. And I'm sure there's some type of abuse in that sense if you do not follow. Finding a purpose in life. We kind of discussed instincts last week. Some people get lost in their own lives. It was kind of like the movie I was talking about, 5 Easy Pieces. You have the drifter who can't come to grip with his life. And he wants to find purpose. And he had to take off on his own without a coat to Alaska to try to find himself. He looked at the mirror and he wanted to say, basically, who am I? And that's what kind of we all do at some point in our life. You look at the mirror, but you want to find some kind of purpose. You don't want to be lost in this thing. Low self-esteem, and that's something too that I think is major. I don't even know why it would be 6. To me, it should be a lot higher. And that's the idea that people with low self-esteem seem to get hooked very quickly with, these leaders, whoever they are, in whatever format they play this game, this manipulative game. It kind of reminds me, folks, if I can go back to my scene here for a second. I've often thought about people who pray, people who chant. I mean, more of like that. The chanting would be more of like an Asian, Eastern religion type thing. But even with religion, I'll think of the Orthodox Jews. They'll be davening when they pray, and it's just this repetitious physical behavior of going like this and the same prayer over and over again and over and over and over again. You're making deals with your maker. If I say this just another time, maybe he'll finally listen. And the chantings that, in say a lot of the Eastern religions, over and over again, this almost repetitive meditation to the point where the meditation itself is a danger. Because in meditation, you're trying to lose yourself. You're getting out of your own ego and trying to be in a state where, you're not really conscious in the traditional way. So it kind of dummies you up. Again, this is just my opinion here. But it's very manipulative, because when you can get somebody to a state where there's not a lot of thinking going on, and there's this repetitive this, or whatever way you have to do it, to me, that's a form of mind control. Yeah. And then people will follow. And I think those desperate people who are caught in these situations, they put themselves in a real position of weakness when they do this prayer chanting type of thing. I think it's destructive. People always say prayers and thoughts. Well, maybe this time we ought to do the action thing. But anyway, it in itself is a problem. All right, so we'll move on. Women are more likely to join. Now, this is interesting here. This one I will read, okay? From the 3 young women who were convinced to commit murder with Charles Manson to the more recent 3 English high school girls who packed their bags to join ISIS, it would seem that women are more likely to join cults than men. And I've read this on other sites, not just this site. And I'm not going to try not to analyze this. Emma Klein, the author of the cult-centric novel called The Girls, explains that many young women are taught to seek attention and wait for men to notice and want them. Boys are taught to reach their own goals and plan for the future. So, joining a cult is a way for many young women to feel like they are seizing some kind of control over their destiny in an otherwise powerless life. The fewer opportunities a woman has in her life, the more likely she is to follow a charismatic cult leader. According to Dr. David Bromley from the Virginia Commonwealth University, women statistically attend more religious gatherings than men, even if it is simply going to the Christian church on Sundays. So, in this respect, the fact that women join cults more often than men is not surprising. And it's funny, I remember one of my good friends from the past, I haven't talked to him in probably 20 years, and he was an atheist, he was Italian, and he told me, his wife was religious. He said, and I said, well, within, Italians, I mean, it seems like they're, with Catholicism, they're very, very religious. He said, no, it's usually just the women. It's just usually just the women. The men might, feign things, but in general, as I say, it's the females. Yeah. And I guess if you look at congregations, it's a lot of females out there. They want someone to take care of them. That's understandable. Pressures, maybe they can't get their own things happening, so being part of a family, especially if you come from a dysfunctional family, it's a vicarious situation where these cult leaders and the followers take care of you, so to speak, trying to save the world. Maybe some people have these, visions of greatness. Somehow they're going to be able to save the world. They can become a god in their own way, and of course they know more than others. Here they have in the central part of this article here that, according to Tom Cruise, a Scientologist has the ability to create new and better realities and improve conditions. In fact, there's a rumor that Tom Cruise is going to parachute into the Super Bowl tomorrow. I don't know. very, very frightening. Fed up with society, can't take it anymore. Here's your exit. You find people, quote unquote, like yourself. So you find out it's worse. And they have no idea it's a cult. And that's the thing I think that's important to know. Is that, you know, people who are manipulated and bamboozled, they don't realize. It's like what Lenny Bruce used to say. Lenny Bruce would say, you know, the truth is what is, and everything else is a terrible, terrible lie. What should be is a terrible lie. You know, everybody says what should be, but you've never seen what should be. What we do see is what is, and it's pretty shitty, actually. One of the reasons we're all here today, you know, to discuss this. I mean, I think that is the price that you pay, you and I, or I'll speak for myself, for knowing the truth as much as you can see it. It's kind of like biting out of the apple, you know, the allegorical tale of, you know, Adam and Eve. You bite from the tree of knowledge. So you learn what the gods know, so to speak. Then you figure some things out, like, oh, this is bullshit, right? So you know the truth, but it doesn't stop your anxiety. And then you have to deal with the others who get manipulated. And it's just like the whole world is a cult. And if it's successful enough, you'll have a holiday named after you on December 25th. It's frightening. It's frightening that how, if so many people can be part of a cult, it just shows you one of two things. One, they are extremely weak-minded for whatever one of those 10 reasons. Or just the human brain is, you know, easily manipulated. And people are taking advantage of it. All right, so let's take a few other ganders. We'll go to psychology today. Okay, so why not look at the key points here? I think that's kind of important here. I'll try to blow this up a little bit. Put me out of the way. Some key points. No one joins a cult. They are recruited by systematic social influence processes. So in other words, you probably wouldn't join it unless there was some manipulative recruitment for you to be part of it. Okay. There is, you know, they're just not going to sit back passively and wait for you to join. They're going to be coming to your door if they have to, or offer you something that will seduce you. Destructive individuals and cults use deception and undue influence to make people dependent and obedient. And I think that is an example of what I'm talking about with this chanting, you know. It's not just the chanting, but the saying of prayers over and over again. You know, this intercession, somehow that the route to getting things done is to keep saying these prayers. And if you don't say them enough, that's probably why these miracles are not occurring. And again, it's not much different when you look at in the Eastern religions, the gurus, the masters, and such. Not all influence is bad. There's a difference between due and undue influence. Well, that's, I think, where we should delineate this. When you have undue influence, that's a problem. Cult leaders are typically malignant narcissists and people people who will be obedient to them. And I would agree with that. And that is that if you look at the leadership, you see nothing but egotism. You know, this is you know, you see the evangelical church on television. You see these gurus as if there's some type of shaman, they're above the rest. well, they become mini gods. And in a certain sense, they're more powerful than the God they think of, or the Buddha, or whatever. And there's a reason, I believe, for that, and that's because you can see them. I mean, they're right there. And that in itself gives you the power. And this is, again, why I think Trump had so much power. Because a lot of these cultish followers, they saw him as a god in truth, because he was right there. I mean, it's almost more likely that you would believe in the sun god because you could see it, than this invisible thing that just doesn't happen to show up too much, right? So you can kind of see how these cult leaders, it's in their, if they are manipulated, it's in their best interest to do this, because they can get somebody to the point where, you know, they're pushing their past selves, you know, underground, and they're not becoming a new person, but they're just simply cutting out all of what was left of them and giving up to these leaders. And I'm going to get to your commentary. I'm sure you have a lot of great things to say, but let's just look through here. Vulnerability and recruitment. We've already talked about people who are desperate and vulnerable. Okay. Looked at some of the risks, factors for people who would join cults: learning and communication disorders, drug and alcohol problems, trauma, unresolved sexual issues, phobias. Okay. Some recent contributions to this would be COVID-19, severe economic disruption, isolation, lack of touch, social distancing, social political polarization, increased time online, internet addiction, recruitment into extreme conspiracy theories, and cult scams. So lots of things. You know, you repress people in so many different ways. They might be repressed financially, health-wise, sexually, a lot of different repressions, and they go a-searching. They only just go to the wrong people. You know, you would think you go to true counseling, true professionals. You know, it's like they're going to the person who comments on that YouTube video with the sun, going to the guy who says Revelations, rather than somebody who actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. So what is a cult? Well, we know one thing, it's deception. Okay? It's authoritarian. They can control. There's, you know, that leadership at the top. There's almost like a Ponzi scheme. And it's not just, you know, the Manson cults and the others. It's a mass cult now, and that is the conspiracy theories, the Qs out there, the Trumpers. You're essentially getting mass manipulation, and it shows you how the mind is just mush from a human being. It really is not as strong as one thinks. Then you start using these manipulative techniques. You know, I mean, shit, if you have somebody chant for 10 hours a day and then you don't let them sleep but 2 or 3 hours a night, you're going to get somebody who's completely thrown off. Because, you know, these are actually torture techniques when you don't let somebody sleep. And then you go above that and you essentially have this meditation where you're not thinking anything. Your brain's in shutdown. Influence is everywhere. Parenting, relationships, media, education, politics, business, religion, psychotherapy. You know, I'd much rather go to psychotherapy than go to my local Fox News program, you know, to tell me what's wrong with the world. So as I say here, influence can be positive, psychotherapy, and it can be negative. Some guru. Obedience to the leader. Identity change. I don't know if it's change, but it does change you. again, I'm not an expert at this, but there's no doubt that these people go through some drastic changes in how they operate, how they function in the world. And to get out of it, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck you do. I mean, you need psychotherapy, obviously. Lasting effects. Prolonged and intense coercive persuasion can cause identity disturbance. Commonly, these are many additional after effects: extreme identity confusion, panic and anxiety attacks, depression, psychosomatic symptoms, anger, guilt, shame, decision-making dependency. You depend on other people to make your decisions, fears and phobias, sleep disorders. Well, of course, because that's one of the things they don't want you to do is get much sleep. Eating disorders, fear of intimacy and commitment, distrust of self and others, just like the cues out there, delusions and paranoia, loss of life, meaning and purpose, post-traumatic stress. So this thing is growing. And if I may go back to my original scene here, as I showed you in that opening video from CNN, you're seeing a change in young people. They're becoming less religious. And maybe that's through information, maybe just culture has changed so much where they're not necessarily going to religion. They're becoming independent thinkers. And perhaps these coercive people really know this, and they don't want to lose it. I mean, for example, the Catholic Church is still powerful in South America, but it's losing influence in Europe, to some extent in the United States. So they have to actively recruit, or they will lose it. It's just like if you have less than 2 children, the population will decrease. So cultural changes are a threat to these religious leaders. So it's not surprising to see something like this, where they use this manipulative video, which, I mean, obviously it looks like it's on our side, right? Just like they say. But then who's putting the money there? It's these conservatives. And then so when they get you, when they hook you in, that's when things change. Now, I don't have to tell you anything, folks. I mean, you guys are hip to all of this. But it's something that has to be spoken about, because I think that we've always looked at cults as these, Charles Manson type situations, and they were out there, but they were, anomalies. But it's not quite like that. It's a lot more. And again, as I said, if you think about it, you could have a holiday named after you 2,000 years later if you're effective at what you're doing. And that's the scary thing. And it's terribly effective, getting people to vote for Trump. I mean, I could understand if you want to vote Republican in the old traditional sense. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I understand the mentality. But these people know, you would think they would know how dirty this person is. And yet, all they've done is build up this anger and hatred toward people like you and me. And there you go. Cult of personality. I think there's one more I'll show. So I always forget to show certain things, but this week I'm not going to do it. I am not going to forget. Okay, 3 reasons why people join cults. This is from Insider. They want a greater sense of community. Okay, so they feel lonely, got to be a part of something. I've seen that too with a lot of Christians, like with the evangelical thing. They're just looking forward to go to church, but I don't know if it's really for worship as it is, being with the gang, and I get that. They want to be with the gang. They're in a state of extreme vulnerability that we can accept. There's something desperate about these people. else here. They want to better themselves either professionally or personally. Okay, so maybe there is a legitimate reason that they, want to improve themselves. But, as I say here, like, are you going to do that through tantric sex cults and things like that? I don't think, that solves your existential dread. Right? All right. So, you've heard what I had to say. There's nothing really earth-shattering here. But again, it does relate to modern-day American society. It seems to be getting worse. Again, just look at what I looked at today, looking at a video of what was going on with the sun. And I was just trying to verify that, perhaps I'm not the only one who's thinking that maybe this might be a good thing. And by the way, there was another report that they're thinking of using moon dust to shoot that up in between the sun and the earth. It might work, I don't know. But that's not my point today. But my point is that, I get shocked. I see like, whoa, what is this shit? That you're going to like talk revelations because of some solar activity. You're going to co-opt all of science and say, oh, this is a sign. Everything's a sign. Until it isn't. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. I think I'm going to work from the present back. Okay. Catholic Church is the biggest cult in the world. I have no argument with that, Jim. No argument. I don't want to offend anybody, but all one has to do is watch a few videos of Christopher Hitchens, and it's not only manipulative as a cult, but as Christopher Hitchens said, they're asking you for contrition. It's the church that should be asking for contrition. Bella. The rapture occurred on October 2011. Holographic Jesus came by and found 3 worthy of ascension. I believe he said there were 2 atheists and a Buddhist. Hambone is in Mexico drinking the sacred margarita. Well, it is kind of interesting with Hambone, because I remember, I don't really watch his videos anymore. I don't. But a couple of years ago, when I was doing videos with Paul with Head in the Box, we interviewed him. Nice guy, But, he kept talking about the Doomer chicks. He wants to get the Doomer chicks. And to me, that's almost like a cultish thing. Let's get the Doomer chicks, It's his business. I wouldn't be thinking that way, but to each his own. But to me, it's like a Doomer cult kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not part of a Doomer cult. We're all doomed. And I've seen it that way for my life. It's not just that the planet is doomed. We've always been doomed from the moment we're born. But it's how we deal with the doom, as Dave would say, grace under pressure. Stuart. Good to see you, Stuart. No carrots for the young. So them individuals are freaking, yeah. Who looks forward to seeing a priest at the RNC again? Yeah, they'll find the right one too, won't they, Ellen? Jim Jones was big in California. Most were poor, joined his cult. I wouldn't doubt it. Poor and desperate. And it really, I don't want to just say, well, these people are stupid. If people are desperate and they're manipulated, you do have to have sympathy for these people, and above all, you have to point the finger at the people up top, the Because these are the worst people. These are just manipulating the weak for their own benefit. And that's horrible. It's just unspeakable that someone would take advantage of somebody who's desperate so that you could feed your own ego. It's brutal. It's unacceptable to me. Imagine Nixon on that. I'd just like to see him on a Delta 9 and see what happens. Kim. That would have been nice. How one mushroom trip turned Hambone from a planet-eating real estate agent to a regretful planet-eating real estate agent. I don't know the story. I know he was a real estate agent. I don't know that would do that to me. They prayed for one couple. IRC. LM, I saw some Catholic Christian dudes roaming around my neighborhood looking to invite people to the church. Yeah. You dress up as a devil and they come to your door or something. Do something ridiculous. Grace Slick and Timothy Leary had it right, Kim, when they want to spike them with coffee with LSD. Well, you know, some of these drugs, I'm not promoting or endorsing drugs, but they do have, you know, some positive effects in lower dosages. You know, people's psychological problems, cannabinoids, whatever, pain, sleep problems. We take aspirin, don't we? By the way, as I've said, I have no secrets to anything. I am nobody's guru. I'm nobody's anything. I'm just the guy that's talking in this seat right now. I don't know any more than anybody out there. I don't profess to know any more than anybody out there. I'm just confused with this thing as anybody else. But I am smart enough to be confused, and that's a good thing. I think it's important to be smart enough to be confused. That's what Arthur Young used to say. Because then at least you're thinking, you know. You don't have to be original. You don't have to be correct even. You just have to think for yourself. You know, I think that's important. Really important. Trev, good to see you. Catholicism ethnically cleansed the hundreds or thousands of early Christian sects and spread itself across Europe at the tip of the sword. Yeah. Because that is the truth. That is the truth. The truth is what is. Yes, Trev, that you speak the truth. Max, good to see you. Haven't seen you for a couple weeks, I guess, maybe, but good to see you. Need a cure? Will cure my ass. With the oil of Aphrodite and the dust of the Grand Wazoo. Yeah. It looks like a restaurant menu. That must be the website I was showing. If I was ready and willing, I'd be able to reach Nirvana, you know. It is nice to chill, though, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Mystery Man came over and said, I'm out of sight. For a nominal service charge, we can reach Nirvana tonight. Yeah, Frank Zappa had all that shit right, you know? I consider all religions cults. Yeah, if I don't know that everybody involved in a religion is a cult follower, because there's some really good people who take religion seriously or actually do believe without that craziness. But I would agree with you, Trev, in that when you get to the hierarchy, it's been a long haul and a big problem, and I think that the manipulation has always been there. What was it? It said like, the fool hath said there is no God. Well, no, he wasn't the fool, or she wasn't the fool. He who said there is no God actually is thinking. I mean, I wouldn't say there is no sun, because I see the sun, but until I personally have a reason to believe, there's no reason for me to believe it. Now, if others do, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. You own your own real estate up there. Karen, Veg, we had an Army and Navy recruiting at our school. Thought it was cult-like. It can look that way. And I suppose there are cultish behaviors in the military in a certain sense. I remember that movie. I always talk about film. Jacob's Ladder. And the story was that these soldiers in Vietnam were given drugs that would induce aggression, and they ended up killing each other. What newspaper did Moon own again? I assume you're talking about Sun Young Moon. Remember him? Is he still alive? I hope not. So many cults, yeah. It's endless. There he is. Sandy. How you doing, Sandy? Sun Young Moon was a bad one. He certainly was. He was out of South Korea, right? Would you take this flower for the Church of the Lunar Consciousness? Egoic dysfunction, yeah. Yeah. Agreed. We had Hare Krishnas in our high school. Sandy, I used to live across the street from the Moonies in Tarrytown, New York. Well, that must have been irritating. Don't forget, DWS is a baby cult. We all belong to. Ooh, on the cult. Yeah, and that's a certain. Well, again, I think it goes back to the commentary on Psychology Today. There's do and there's undo. There's positive influence and there's negative influence. Now, just because there's a team-like or tribal behavior that we have, wouldn't necessarily mean we're a cult. I'd like to think that this is a positive influence. What would make me different than anybody? I certainly don't get anybody to, let's all meet and have a little cult meeting and DWS, and I'm going to sell merch. Profess to being the leader of this or that, because that's the last thing I am. I see myself as a facilitator of discussions, and that's it. Because the minute I start becoming Brian egotistical, which is not my way, I don't like that. I don't like awards. I don't like any of that shit. I don't like advertising. I don't like any of that shit. I think that would separate us. We're a small group, but we're like kind of an anti-cult group. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just that it bases itself in logic. I don't go to an atheist church. It's just a lack of religion. So I'm put in a group by religious people, but I'm really not. I'm part of a demographic. So I wouldn't consider ourselves a cult, although some people might say that. But first of all, this is such a small group. I don't force anything on anybody, and I don't want it. I don't want to be your leader. I don't mind being a facilitator. But I don't need 10,000 subscribers. I don't need my name being posted up as a winner of any competition. It's just not part of that. All right, let's go back to the front again. See here. No hierarchy. Right. Exactly. I only know what I do know, and you guys know what you know. I know it sounds very simple, but the only thing I can do is speak to which I do know, and then let the others come up with the facts. And I'm not ashamed. I don't need to be on the pedestal. I don't want to be. I'm tired of that. I'm not mad at you folks. It just makes me sick. I will not be your leader. I will just be me and try to do the right thing. The South Korean dictator let all crazy evangelical preachers from the USA come and go. I wouldn't doubt it. I think he could see it. Your God is dead and no one cares. If there's a hell, I'll see you there. 9-inch nail. Don't know if they coined that. Remember that Nietzsche, God is dead? South Korea was a dictatorship until 79, and under it, the Moonies thrived. I'm sure they did. Moonies, right. Epic Times is owned by the Moonies now. Going backwards is confusing. Yeah, it is. I'm just afraid that, Kim, if I start from way back, the timing of it's going to be off. It's really bad. I really need to have somebody to do this kind of thing, the commentary, and throw it up there. But this is the nature of a solo act. If Dave had been here, what I would have done is I would have gone in order. Definitely would have gone in order. And I do like to read these because, like I said, I think if there's any strength in what this is, whatever I'm doing, is that this communication. You could not do this with 1,000, not even with 1,000. Well, maybe you could with 1,000 subscribers, because not everybody's going to go, to watch your live broadcast. But when you have tens of thousands of subscribers, and then you have that chat just flying left and right, you can't. You have to have a producer choosing the best ones in their mind. But this way, we can have an honest discussion. We don't have to agree, but I like it. All of you, I've probably at some point in time disagreed in the same you with me, and that's okay. I don't go to sleep thinking about anybody disagreeing. I don't think that way. I do have thick skin, because I have to think that, look, this is what the number one thing we're trying to do is share our ideas and have open commentary, and that's what we have. With the exception, again, of the Facebook site, if you start giving me Republican shit, you're not going to be in the group. All right, I'll try to stay to. Okay, and by the way, Karen, I'm not blaming you saying that that this is risical. I'm just making the point that I would think that we're not a cult. But I will say this. I will say that other people would see it as a cult, especially if we have more members. Sending good vibes today. Please do. Please do. Like I said, he's doing better in a certain sense, but worse in a certain sense. So, it's the step forward, step back thing. I hope I can visit him soon. I will. Like I said, I did contact his wife, and she got back to me. I can't share everything. It's not like I'm trying to be mean. It's just kind of private for them, and I don't want to go into it. But I can say there are things that are happening that are good for him, and others that are not. So it's not there yet. This is approaching a year. I'd like to see him before he goes on, if I can see him, like literally just go visit him. But I'll find out if that's a possibility.
Political points of view.
Hambone's book is awesome. He just read it. There's a playlist on Collapse Chronicles called Peruvian Plunge. Really highly recommend it. I've not seen it. I don't doubt you, but
my family.
Dave would appreciate this. Now, again, Dave doesn't watch this. Dave never did watch them, and I get it. Dave just he moves on, with things, and as much as he loves the show here, he loves doing it. He would not watch the show afterwards. He's got no time for it. Dave is easily distracted. He wants to keep moving on, and that's a good thing. That is Dave, and it's been good to Dave. And I only watch it to make sure that the audio was right, and I want to see how cleanly things came out. But other than that, I don't watch the whole thing. I may watch 10 minutes of it. LM. I heard Google used to give out free food to its employees and let them take naps, but otherwise, this isn't leftism. Good question. If it's done to manipulate, then of course you can make an analogy. But if it's just a different way of doing things, giving people freedom, I would have no problem with that. And Google did want people to be more creative and make things a lot easier for people to be creative. On the other hand, it's a marketing company, and it's the real big brother, mainly because it has the information that our government couldn't dream of having. And part of it's our fault because we just show everything from our latest lunch to our deepest secrets when we do a Google search or something like that. 6 in chat, 17 watching, 11 aliens. Yeah, all right. For us, 17 watching is big, which is kind of cool because if you think about it, now 17 is not a big number, and it's fine. But I would know anyway because I only see myself. Actually, I'm actually looking at the program, looking at myself. So as far as I know, I'm the only one here in terms of what I see. But it's kind of cool because if we have 6 people in the chat room and 17 people watching, that means the other people are just relaxed and they're watching for whatever reason, and that's their choice, and I'm happy for them. So if you're watching this and you're just kind of checking it out and feel more comfortable doing it that way, that's the way you do it. Doesn't bother my ego. Whatever is better for you is what's right. Just like I put on this music as a background because it just makes me feel comfortable. The next person never would do it. And I would get it. It's kind of a slight distraction, but for me, it calms me down. Hope Dave gets better every day, and I do too. I haven't seen T-Bone for a while, actually, Franz, now that you mention it. I don't know if he's had any videos of late. I'll have to check. Or if you know out there, if you've seen his videos. But I haven't heard from him for a while, so I hope he's doing all right. Good guy, really good guy. 17 out of 10 individuals are wary of statistics. Bloomberg Media gives out free food, snacks, drinks at its headquarters for employees too. I would say that I don't know that I want to make a judgment on these companies for doing that. I don't know that that would be a manipulative technique to be part of, say, a cult. My guess is no. I think it's just a different way of getting people to be more productive. I could be wrong. But there are times, for example, when we have professional development at the high school, and they have, maybe some food there or breakfast, and it's kind of a professional way about you're bringing people in, trying to show them something, so you feed them. I don't see anything wrong with that. What I do see something wrong about is having somebody chant for 10 hours, and then only let them sleep about 3, and then start telling them what they should do, and they have to give some of their bank account up. That's what bothers me. It would bother anybody else. And again, the tragedy is that the people who are desperate get sucked in, and they give a piece of themselves up. Push it down. And it's the last thing they need. Some are on TVs, right? I remember Reverend Ike back in the 60s or 70s. I used to just watch it just to see this guy go nuts and scream all the time. I'm chilling to answer about T-Bone. I emailed him just yesterday, so I'm waiting to hear back. I haven't emailed him for a couple of weeks. Thank you, Sandy. Veg. He takes time off a lot. He'll be back. Good. There you go. That's an answer. Yeah. Today was, aside from reading these strange cultish comments on YouTube, today was, like I say, it was a really funny day. And I think for me, I mean, I exercised in the morning, and I watched Veg's video, which was funny. You gotta watch it if you haven't seen it. And I'm not just saying this because Veg is on the show here a lot and all that. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. But Veg, I don't know. You haven't. I assume you haven't been able to use your camera yet. We can get an answer from you on that. I don't know this. Oh, look who. Oh. T-Bone. Brian, if you're reading this, well, congratulations. You're still not reading these in order. Left Lad, you're the man. Yes, I'm alive, by the way. And no, I'm not coming. What? Okay, yes, I'm still alive, by the way. And no, I'm not coming back. Oh, well. If you're not coming back, T-Bone, we're going to miss you. But I hope you're doing well. Because you have something to say, and in your own creative way of doing it, much better than I can do. I just don't. I mean, I can be creative, but I can't invest any of the time right now on that kind of thing. I don't think I can. That was the one thing that Dave and I shared when we played music. A lot of people got turned off to us in bands that band members we had, because Dave and I were the jammers. We were always improvising. And as I've said here, with this type of show, I improvise. It doesn't mean that I'm not prepared. I generally know what I want to speak about, but I can't. I can do a prepared presentation. But to me, it's actually, this is laziness in a certain sense for me. It involves so much work. It involves a lot of work. And to polish that up, I can't do that. And I want to press myself to be able to do these shows without making glaring mistakes, without saying mundane things, trying to get to some shared experience that we can talk about, commiserate if we must. So, yeah. Well, it's good to know, T-Bone, that you're out there. Maybe next week you'll feel like dropping in on the show, you and Veg, or with whomever. Be nice. I remember I can have up to 5 guests on this. Now, if I had an M1, whatever it is, computer from Apple, which I can't afford. In fact, I got this a couple of years ago, and I'm real happy with this one. I could have up to 20 guests, but I can have up to 5 of you. Haven't had that in a long time. I think under Head in the Box, we had 5 at one time, and on this show, we've had 4. We had Dave, T-Bone, Veg, myself. Oh, maybe we had 5. Dave, T-Bone, Veg, and Kevin. Dave, T-Bone, Veg, and Kevin, and myself. Then I guess I can have 5, like myself and 5, make 6. I found time to be here for this short moment and must leave soon. Well, I'm leaving soon too, quite frankly, T-Bone, so I'm glad you made it. Just being here. It's fine. It's really, really fine. But that's really what I wanted to discuss today, was this cultism out there. It's just, it's very depressing from that angle that there are individuals out there who are willing to manipulate people who, for whatever reason, are having a really tough time in life. Again, I say the number one thing is that people are in general just searching for an answer that they don't have. And they're suffering. And they are taking full advantage of those type of people. And of course, if some guru was listening to this now and some cult follower said, well, look at what he's saying, they would say, oh no, I do care and I love you and all that stuff. But you know it's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. T-Bone, we love you too. We've all had this connection, especially since Dave got sick. Life just presents so many difficulties, and you understand why these manipulative people will take advantage of it. I mean, because there are so many problems in the world. The problem is they exacerbate the problem, capitalize on it, just like a capitalist. Well, anyway, any new comments? M1. Oh, you got an M1. Wow, I don't have an M1. That's wonderful, because they're great with the eCam program. Yeah. It's gonna be a while before I get an M1, believe me. I'd probably get an F16 before I could get an M1. Not in the car. But this will work. So, anyway, I think that's enough for tonight. I don't want to overdo it. It's, 10:25, so it lasted an hour and 25 minutes. I do appreciate everybody coming by tonight. I really do. If you have not subscribed and you're one of those 11 people out there who have not been in the chat, that's fine. But if you see it in your heart and you find this somewhat interesting and you like the commiseration, please subscribe. And there are no ads here. I'm not looking for money from you. I don't want anything from you. How's that? I don't want anything from you. And we have a Facebook group page, and that we do want you to be a member, keeping up on all the things the Republicans do, the shitty things they do. That is a political movement. But for this channel, you just drop in and say hello, and we're just a bunch of people who are friendly with each other. And for me, that's all the answer I need. And for me, it's kind of important because I love the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not a big football fan, but this is going to sound strange, but when I was a kid, I used to go to the football games in the 1960s and the 1970s, and the Eagles lost. It was very traumatic as a little kid who liked sports. They'd always lose, always lose, and always lose. And you always expect them to lose. And I have that feeling even now, even though they're a good team. I don't want to lose, of course. But I'm tied to my past. I don't like all the marketing, and I will not like the Jesus ads and all that kind of stuff. But I'm looking forward to the game because of my past. It has to undo the torturous losses as a kid. I think you get that. Anybody would. If you're from Buffalo, you know that. Buffalo really knows that. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Don't let anybody manipulate you. Don't let me manipulate you. Just be yourself.